Madam Speaker, I'd like to start my contribution by thanking the Privileges Committee for their patience in coming to a decision on this matter, especially as it took them 6 months and various attempts in order to try and have all members who needed to speak at this being able to do so. Madam Speaker, this is not about the haka. It's not about the haka at all. It's about the rudeness and the disrespect that was given to this House, to the Speaker who sat in that chair, to all the elected colleagues around this House, and it's about the invasion on a process that we call democracy. That's what the privileges complaint was about. And when I listen to what opposition members have said, I've heard them talk about episodes where fights were taking place outside, where there were discretions with a Green member and a National Party member, where there were other discretions that happened in here. In fact, where a Labour Party member also stood and apologised to the House, stood in front of the Privileges Committee and listened to them. Even though he stood by what he did man up, turn up, and took respect of the House with him when he did it. When I listen to what is being said across the room, I'm hearing that there's no treaty without Māori, and that's correct. There is also no treaty without the Crown. And in this room, Madam Speaker, we are here as representatives of the Crown. And in this room, we are sitting amongst a memorial of wars, a memorial of deaths, that we come into this place every single day because those people that fought in every one of those battles around this room, no matter what their nationality is, they did it for New Zealand, and they did it so that we could be a democracy. And a democracy is something that we should all be proud of. But it's not universal around this House, and there are excuses being made for bad behaviour. Because in this room, we are here to make laws, to not make laws, to debate, to have the discussions. And this place is so sacred that we can't even have the king in this room. We've got the green carpet here. We can't have them because the elected people of this country sit in this room to have debate. This is not about the haka, Madam Speaker. It's not about the haka, it's about process. It's about grandstanding at the expense of this House and how it operates. It's about just being ignorant and arrogant about how we do laws in New Zealand. You do not have to agree with every single law, but we do have a process when you do not. And tell us about the treaty part. What I would like to see from Te Pāti Māori is where we look to unify as a country, where we look to come together to find solutions. But we don't hear that from Te Pāti Māori. All we hear is aggression, all we hear is bullying, all we hear is yelling. And the other thing I'd like to point out, Madam Speaker, is that when it comes to these two-fingered guns, I sat there and had that pointed at me while I was told kino. Now, as a licensed firearm owner, Madam Speaker, if I were to do that to anybody, either in this House or out on the street, I would lose my licence. Why? Because I'd be deemed as no longer being fit and proper. They think it's funny, Madam Speaker. They think it's funny to point fingers and pretend to kill someone. Now, I don't. I take that quite seriously. And when I listen to the Green members talking about disproportion when it comes to the recommendations of the Privileges Committee, I don't think that it is disproportionate. And if we listen to the members of Te Pāti Māori, they've just told us in their speeches that this is the beginning. that they have no intention of complying to the rules of the House. In fact, they've just gone on and said that they're getting rid of the treaty for 21 days, they're putting it on hold, like they have the power to do that. The power for this nation, Madam Speaker, comes from this House. It comes from this room. And the people put us here to speak to them, not to get out of your seats and start going up to other members of the House and try to intimidate them with your stupid little fingers. Why don't you put your brain into gear, get some words in your mouth and start debating? Because that's what you do in this whare. I've heard that we are bullies over on this side, but we're not the ones that are yelling comments to other people and other members continuously.
Actually, I'm just going to make a point at this point that yelling is coming from many areas, so and it varies depending on who's speaking. So carry on, Minister Nicole McKee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what we've heard from Te Pāti Māori, and I'm trying to look for good ideas, but I've not found any because I've not heard any. What I hear is just a constant barrage of everything that they don't like and that they hate, and when things continue to go along that way and they do not get their way, then they jump out of their seats, they cross the floor and they go up and intimidate other members in their faces. Now that's not something that should be done in this House. And we all know that that's not how you behave in this House. And because of that, we are seeing the decorum and the respect of each other, of members, of process and of democracy absolutely eluding itself, and it should not happen here, not in this whare. Madam Speaker, it took 6 months for the Privilege Committee to even get to a point where they could give a recommendation to the House. And they tried very hard to have the other side be a part of that conversation, but they refused. This is not a disproportionate recommendation that's been made, especially when you look at actually what happened. So, Madam Speaker, the Privileges Committee decision was not about the haka. It was about Te Pāti Māori bullying their way to change. And what the Privileges Committee have said to the House is that behaviour should not stand. They will have a disproportionate punishment because of it, and because of the ongoing behaviour, I fully support what the Privileges Committee are recommending to this House and request that the members over there grow up and start learning how to debate issues and be a part of a solution instead of making stupid statements like we're going to suspend the treaty for 21 days. If that's the case, I hope you all give up all your wages. I hope you all give up everything that you take from the government in order to then trash the rest of New Zealand, because that's a disappointment to Māori. That's a disappointment to a lot of Māori who tell us they don't support your extremist ways. Utter contempt, not only for the treaty, but also for the process. And I hope the 21 days gives the party time to sit down and think about how they behave in the House and how they actually can get action and get things moving. Because it is possible, but not with that bullying, aggressive attitude. Thank you, Madam Speaker.